Wasn't that statistic kind of chilling? I mean, if we read that over again, we got in 1983, 43% of Canadians went to church for about once a month or maybe more. And then in 2016, about 20% of Canadians got to church once a month. Is that chilling? We find that over 4,000 churches close every single year, and that 94% of churches have 90 people and under that go to them. I don't know if you would agree, but I would say that the stats are against the church. But what we found through this series is an awesome verse, this awesome promise that God gives us in Romans 8:31 that reads like this: if God is for us, then who can be against us? And we found out through this series that God is for us, right? He is for our marriages. He is for our finances. He is for our kids. And I love that. But the interesting thing is that if we look at that verse, we understand that there's two things that happen at once. We find out that there are things that are against us and that God is for us. It kind of reminds me of my wedding picture. And so check this out. We got my wedding picture, and it's Emily and I, and this was way back when, and God was definitely for me because I got a smoking hot wife, right? He was definitely for me in that, and yet there was something going against me, and it's still going against me. It's like my hairline, and it's like my weight, and it's like, so somehow this dude got this girl, and there's something against and something for me. And it's interesting when we look back at our lives, we see that God clearly worked in our lives. He clearly provided for us, but it was difficult. Like, even though he was for us, there were things that were against us. And that's an interesting thing that we kind of find out in our lives. Two things were going on at the same time. And what I believe is that God is for the church, but the church is kind of like a wonky thing at times. Like it seems like there's some things that are going against the church. And someone who does a great job in summarizing that is this video. Tim Hawkins in this video today. Check it out.
There's a lot of hand sanitizer in church. Anybody notice that? I don't know. At my church, they have these 2 hand sanitizer stations right by the front door greeters. That is not a good message. People come in on Sunday, how you doing? Nice to see y'all. It's good to see you. Thanks for coming to visit. You're going to love it here. We just love people. You can just be yourself. You can just be yourself. We don't care. We don't judge you. We just love. You sit back, and whatever questions you have, you let us know. We'll let you know whatever we can do for you, okay? Y'all newly married, you got 4 kids? 4 kids. That is amazing. We love kids here. Kids are like a little gift from God is what they are. They are just wonderful little creatures that God gives us. Mm-hmm. Yeah, where y'all from? Arkansas? Okay. And I know that each church has its own worship style, which is cool. Some people are more expressive in worship, some people more subtle, and it's all good. I go to a church that's pretty expressive in worship. It's a hand-raising church. That's what it is, right? That's what, Anybody here go to a hand-raising church? Am I here? Sweet. Who here does not go to a hand-raising church? Some of you are trying, you're like, I can't. I want to, Tim. I need to get some momentum. Totally cool. But hey, if you're not used to going to a hand-raising church, you want to go and join us, feel free to join us, but don't feel like you got to join right in, okay? Start slow. We got a lot of different hand raises that we use. We actually have names for our hand raises. So I'm going to walk you through real quick, okay, what they are, just to let you know. Say you're at my church, music is rocking. Start slow, hands in the pockets, little elbow flap, you're fine. Very subtle, get warmed up, get your heart rate up. When you're warmed up, start with the first one. Ready? Carry the TV. Carry the TV, that's our first one. Very subtle. Go to big screen, a little wider. Next one's my fish was this big. My fish was this big. If you're a liar, you can go out there, that's fine, don't worry about it. Jesus loves you, grace. Next one's hold my baby, hold my baby. Got dueling light bulbs, that's our next one, dueling light bulbs. Got goalpost, everybody knows goalpost. Throwing a heartburn, a lot of people like to do heartburn. Double heartburn, right back to goalpost. What's my favorite? Mufasa. Mufasa, that's my favorite. The circle of life. Tim, can you go higher? Yes, you can. You can take one hand, go a bunch of different stuff. Pointer, hatchet, schoolroom. Release the doves, give the Lord a high five, press it out. A lot of women like to wash the window. Wash the window. And when you're comfortable there, go for the big three. Village people, Rocky, touchdown. There you go, there's your big three.
The two things going on at the same time, right? Like this great movement of the church, but kind of the wonkiness of what happens in the church because it's made up of people like us. And I believe that God is for us. He is for our kids. He is for our finances. He is for our families. I also believe that He is for our church, even though the stats are against us. And so what I want to do today is I want to jump into Romans, and we've been honing in on Romans 8:31, but I'd like to go a little bit further and check out what follows those verses. And so let's jump into Romans 8:31 all the way to 39, and here's what it says. It says this: in view of all this, what can we say? If God is for us, who can be against us? Certainly not God, who did not even keep back His own Son, but offered Him for us all. He gave us His Son. Will He not also freely give us all things? Verse 33. Who will accuse God's chosen people? God Himself declares them not guilty. Who then will condemn them? Not Christ Jesus, who died, or rather who was raised to life and is at the right hand of God, pleading with Him for us. Who then can separate us from the love of Christ? Can trouble do it? Or hardships? Or persecution? Or hunger? Or poverty? Or danger? Or death? As the scripture says, for your sake, we are in danger of death at all times. We are treated like sheep that are going to the slaughter. No, in all these things, we have complete victory through Him who loved us. Verse 38, for I am certain that nothing can separate us from His love, neither death nor life, neither angels nor other heavenly rulers or powers, neither the present nor the future. Verse 39, neither the world above nor the world below. There is nothing in all creation that will ever be able to separate us from the love of God, which is ours through Jesus Christ our Lord. I mean, that if we're going to summarize it, that's like every possible scenario of something being against you. It's summarized here. At every scenario, any situation, any story, any tragedy, it doesn't matter what you're in, what these verses are saying is that no matter what, God is still saying that He's for you. No matter what you've done in the past, God is still saying He's for you. No matter how hard it gets, God is still saying, I am for you. I am with you. He is also for us as a church. Even when we read those crazy statistics about what the church and the decay of the church in Canada, He's still for us. And we really believe that. We believe that God has blessed our church, that He's providing for our church, and that we are continuing to break through statistics because we cling to His word. And we read scriptures like this in Matthew 16:18, right? And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades, the gates of hell will not overcome it. We don't think that we will be overcome because we are rooted. We're rooted in Jesus. And so what I want to do today, I want to honor our past. I want to look at the past, where we came from, and looking at where we are now. I mean, let's just take an honest look of where we are. I think that's important to know. And then I want to look at the future and maybe what God has for us in the future. I think that would be great in understanding why we continue to break through statistics and maybe what God is leading us to do in the future. And so here it goes. Let's jump into honoring our past. Now, some of you might know, some of you might not know, but our church was started in 1998 by a man named Mark Parker. He was the founding pastor of Southgate Church. Him and his wife Helen, they began to plan and to dream together, and they got this group of people together, and they started talking about planting a church called Southgate. And this group, they followed Mark's leadership. They prayed together. They talked together. They dreamed together. They planned together. And Mark led them through very exciting times, but also some very, very scary times in the beginnings of this church. I mean, at the journal at the time, reading through Mark's journal that he left here, you can find that there are instances where, man, He didn't know where his next paycheck would come. He didn't know how he was going to get paid. They had 3 kids at home, and he didn't know when he was going to get his next paycheck. There was times that they didn't know where they were going to meet as a church. There was no building available for them. There were times that they were getting attacked as a family from other people. There were times that they just felt like, you know what? This is too much. Like there's my family, it feels like we're getting attacked in our health. It feels like we're getting attacked in the finances. It feels like we're getting attacked in other people, and they're not rooting for us. It feels like the stats are against us. And there's even times recorded, and it's like, why would we continue through this? Like, it's absolutely crazy that we would press forward when it seems like everything is against us. Well, if we go back and we look at the beginnings of the church, it was his desire to create a church that people who didn't go to church, they would love going to. To create a church where unchurched people would love to attend. It was a simple, it was an exciting place to be involved and to serve. The very first service was advertised in the newspaper. This is a clipping from that newspaper. It was advertising the very first Sunday that the church was going to open in 1998. This is actually the first bulletin that they printed, the grand opening service. But before that grand opening service, they held their first service on September 9th, 1998. There was 19 people in attendance. In fact, all throughout that first year, you know what the attendance was? The average? 36. 36 people. They passed the plate. I mean, they were collecting offering, and they would receive about $300 a week, which totaled to about $15,600 a year. It was hard times. It was desperate times. It was exciting times, but it was scary times. I mean, really scary times to try to make ends meet and to push forward when it felt like everything was against them. And as I reflect back, it's, now we're at 4 different services over 2 different sites, 2 different campuses. I mean, our giving, we would take in more than that in a week on a Sunday morning that they took in all year. I mean, it's amazing to kind of reflect back of where we came from and what God is doing now. It's important to honor our past in what was happening back then, because from the very beginning, Mark and those who started the church, they gave everything they had. They sacrificed with their time. They sacrificed with their money. They sacrificed with their lives at time. I mean, they were putting all the eggs in one basket to push forward with God's plan for the church. And to be honest, some of you were actually there. You were there. You know what that's all about. You know exactly what that's like because you lived through the excitement and the scary times and the life change and the sacrifice. Well, the Kemptville campus, this building here in Kemptville, it went up in 2007. They continued this legacy of sacrificial giving and sacrificial giving of time and finances. And this building was put up because people gave. They believed in the mission. They believed in what this was all about. They knew that they could break through the statistics that were against them, and they put this building up. And it took all kinds of money to do that, but it also took a lot of time. People gave of themselves and put up the walls and put the roof back on here. It happened because of people believed, because people understood the need, because people were united. I came in 2010. My wife and I, we moved up here with expecting a baby on the way here. And when I came, that first Sunday that I came here, that day was a particularly high attendance Sunday. And I believe that day there was 148 people in attendance in 2010, in April of 2010, 148 people. A lot of changes have taken place since that time. And where I'm actually preaching from here today, the wall behind me was blue. And the music was a little more nostalgic. The congregation was maybe a little bit older, and things didn't really look the way they do now. We've come a long way, but we were given this rich legacy to live up to and live by, which brings us to the present. See, I think it's important for us to understand what we live in today. What's the reality of what's going on here at Southgate and Southgate Church in Winchester and in Kemptville? What are we living in? What is it looking like? Well, let me just revive the last year for you. Let me talk about the statistics of the church. We've already heard about the statistics of the church in Canada, but let's check out the statistics of Southgate Church over the last year. Sunday mornings, typically on a Sunday in Kemptville, we'd have about 460 people who would come on a Sunday morning. And in Winchester, there are about 140 people who are coming there who call Winchester Southgate campus their home. And we know that we have a church that's roughly 650 to 800 people who call Southgate their home. If we took everybody who called Southgate their home, there'd be about 650 to 800 people. In Kemptville, we have roughly 140 kids who come to church and register in Kemptville every single week. In our roster, we would have about 190 kids who call Southgate their home on a regular basis. In Amped, there's about 70 to 80 teens every Tuesday night in the Kemptville campus location. That's amazing. All kinds of teens flood this place. They learn about God. They have fun with one another. They're excited about what God is doing, and they're establishing lifelong relationships in the name of Jesus. Our young adults program is thriving. This past year, the average attendance is from 45 to 60 people, ages 18 to 25. We should have mentioned some of the stats in Canada about that demographic that's missing in the local church. And yet here at Southgate, it's thriving. All kinds of young adults between the ages of 18 and 25 are serving God in the church. That they're learning and growing and developing into the people that He wants them to become. If we checked out life groups, people who are in discipleship in our church, we got about 25 life groups here at Southgate. And about 230 adults are a part of those life groups, apart from young adults and Amped and Kemptville and those kids who are in discipleship in those areas. That's an amazing statistic. If we look at the salvations here over the past year, we have about 93 people who've united their lives with Jesus. 93 people who've united their lives with Jesus over this past year. About 30 of those people got baptized over this past year. Finances. If we looked at finances in the life of the church, it's unheard of. But last year at this time, if we took the building right out of our finances and we just talked about our general giving, we are up 24% of where we were last year. It's incredible to kind of review some of this stuff. If we look at our outreach and missions ministries, total, we've given away over $80,000, far exceeded that. Over $80,000 are given away through things like New Commandment Ministry. We've got 7 teams of men serving widows and singles moms. We have firewood and the fire ministry and the wood ministry helping people heat their homes and looking at $26,000 worth of wood was given away last year for people to heat their homes. Our life groups, we've got Inspire projects or serving all those teachers in all the schools in around the region. We got the food drive that happened and our teens were involved with. We had the sock drive that just happened. The parades that we've been involved with. The bouncer was at 9 different community events throughout the year. We had the Movies in the Park celebration. We had benevolence and loving from the oven that took place and all kinds of things that people don't even know about. When a family's in need and the church comes alongside and helps them. Or helps them with their hydro payments, or helps them with groceries, or helps them put gas in their car, or people who are going through tragic events and the church comes alongside of them. We got the Fill a Bag campaign that we were part of, and the yard sale that we send our kids off with to go to camps. We got House of Lazarus partnership and our global partnerships with Gospel for Asia and World Hope and Compassion Canada. It's incredible what we are doing and what we've been a part of, and seeing the growth and the statistics just breaking huge statistical benchmarks. If I talked about the staff for a second, they don't get thanked enough for all the things that they do. And if I were honest, I would kind of lay out how many hours that they would put in versus how much they get paid. It's mind-boggling, and it's humbling to be a part of a great staff like that. I don't know if you know, but all of our staff, they actually live by and work out of these examples, these staff values that they've all agreed to, things like leading the way, taking initiative to lead other people well, maybe when someone else hasn't stepped up to the plate, believing the best in other people, and am I trusting that others are for me and I can help one another, and believing in other people even when it feels like it's difficult to do that? That I'm trying to always improve. I'm going from good to great, that there's always more for me, that I always want to go deeper with what God has for me, that I'm living to give. Am I serving more than I'm being served? Am I stepping back and waiting for people to serve me, or am I going to actively serve people in the name of Jesus? Or fighting for unity. Am I protecting the unity of the team? I mean, this is what they're living by. And training each day, am I pursuing a healthy lifestyle in the way that I live? And am I finding joy in rest? Am I taking the initiative to recharge by taking the Sabbath and by resting? I mean, I love that because it kind of brings unity to our staff, but it also kind of unites us in these common goals that we are trying to live by as a group of people. Or maybe I could talk about the directors at our church and the relentless pursuit they have in the name of Jesus, and how they help me, how they pray for me and my family, how they make critical decisions in the life of our church, how they are desperate to hear from God in our business meetings. I mean, these people who are volunteering, who put tons and tons of hours in the name of Jesus. I mean, have I given you an accurate picture of where we are today? If we look at stats of the church in Canada and stats here at Southgate, it blows me away with what God is doing in the life of our church. Which brings me to where we're heading in the future. How we're building for the future. See, the big question is, what is the plan for the future? People always ask me, what is the plan for Southgate in the future? I mean, is it the kids program? And celebrating the Kemptville ministry and growing that and bringing more kids into Kemptville? Is it the amped student movement? I mean, we hear a lot about that. And is it developing that program or our life group ministry and making that grow and blossom and expanding to 30 or 40 different groups? I mean, is it the young adults program and having this place just flooded with young adults? Is it building a new building? And I haven't heard about the building in a while, and it seems, I mean, is that still the focus? Are we still going to build this huge, big building and try to expand the kingdom here with that tool? Or is it multi-site? I mean, are we going to be planting more churches? Are we doing the same thing that we did with Winchester and other locations? I mean, Pastor Ben, what is the plan moving forward? What's the big idea? What's the mission? What's the vision of this thing? Is it the building? Is it the programs? Let me tell you, all those things are wrong. The vision and the plan is not a building. The vision and the plan is not a program. The vision of the plan is not a campus. It's none of those things. See, the mission, the vision of Southgate is rooted in Ezekiel 47, which is to unite people with Jesus in the local church, to grow them into fully devoted followers of Jesus, and to live in such a way that we would inspire others to unite their lives with Jesus. Why will we continue to be blessed by God as a church? I mean, why will we continue to be breaking through statistical barriers? Because we're rooted in the Bible. Because our legacy comes from Jesus and how people sacrificed in his name. Because we live by what Jesus says, and we're rooted in his life-giving word. Because we are looking forward to Jesus. Everything that we do is about him. And because of that, he has blessed us, and he has provided for us. And he said this, I mean, his words are love God with all your heart and your mind and your strength, and love people. And we are living out those commands as a church. And you are living out those commands as the body here at Southgate under one head. And it's not the pastor, it's Jesus. We're all in this together. And so where do we go from here? How do we move forward? Well, I think it's important to look at someone who's been here all along. And so I've asked the Chapman family and Lori Chapman to write us a letter here from the perspective of someone who's been here the whole time and what it was like and what kind of commitments had to be made. And so here's what she wrote. Let me read this for you. It says, in 2005, Roy and I felt a calling to move our family, which included our 3 sons, who were then 14, 10, and 8, to Kemptville, where our longtime friends Mark and Helen Parker were planting Southgate. We had been part of the Building Canada Wesleyan Church and sensed that God was leading us to join the Parkers in building his church in Kemptville. At the same time, the congregation met on Sundays in Kemptville College, which required weekly setup and tear down sessions before and after the service. Sunday was always an all-hands-on-deck situation with a weekly attendance of about 80 people. Everyone had a job to do. In addition to set up and tear down, children's ministry and worship, and there were many hours spent in meetings seeking God's direction and praying for Southgate. See, many of us gladly opened our homes regularly for various church functions, worship practice, committee meetings, etc., and we gave our time, talents, and resources to Southgate, doing whatever was required. The Parkers lived and gave sacrificially to make Southgate a reality. Pastor Mark worked bivocationally as a bus driver and a pastor, and Helen worked at a bank in town in addition to the many roles she fulfilled at the church, which included, but were not limited to, the secretary, the piano player, the worship leader, the children's ministry director, and they did all this while raising 3 children. Pastor Mark's vision for Southgate never faded. He worked tirelessly with the district and the local congregation, was able to find and secure this property in Kemptville on French Settlement Road. See, not long after we arrived in Kemptville, planning for the actual building began. But before any building could happen, money had to be raised, mortgages secured, permits and plans drawn up and revised again. All of this required countless hours of prayer, endless numbers of meetings, many of which lasted late into the night as budgets and plans were hashed out and adjusted again and again. Architects and contractors hired, designs determined, and many other details worked out. Eventually, the ground was turned. It was a very exciting time for the 120 of us or so who were attending Southgate at the time. It was exciting and it was scary. It was a huge step of faith for us to launch this project. We knew that it was going to require a great deal from each one of us, financially and otherwise, but we also knew that God was for us, that he was in it with us. See, a lot of the actual construction was completed by volunteer labor, and how rewarding to be a part of an actually building God's church. Even our kids were able to contribute. What a neat opportunity for them. Since the completion of the building in 2007, we have seen God continue to grow his kingdom here through Southgate. Many changes have occurred over the past 12 years. Pastoral changes, auditorium seating arrangements, the sound booth, the service times, the stage design, paint colors, parking lot, the foyer, the offices, the names of various programs and ministries, the children's area, and a new campus, just to name a few. Did you know that the kids' church used to actually meet in the space that is now the offices and volunteer room? Pretty sure that area couldn't house all of our kids today. But one thing hasn't changed. It's the mission. To see people unite with Jesus and to have their lives transformed by him. Thankfully, because I am one of those whose life have been transformed through Jesus because of the ministry of Southgate. See, whatever building we meet in, whatever campus we find ourselves in, whatever program we are drawn into, whatever it is, you should feel the same way when you call Southgate your home. See, what you should feel is that this is a place that gives life. It's exciting. It's fun. It's rooted in the Bible. It is welcoming. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter of what you've done in the past or the lifestyle that you live, that you would have a place here where God could transform you and he could speak to you and reveal some of the plans that he has for you. See, we need to be a welcoming church. And I want to be transparent as possible with you. We have a rich legacy, and we are living in amazing times right now in our church. And looking forward, I'm so excited, but here's the thing. As a leadership team, both staff and directors, and especially talking for myself, I am not a perfect leader. I am not a perfect pastor, and I'm definitely not a perfect husband or a dad. And I'll be transparent with you. I'm usually the first one to admit that. But here's the thing I can tell you. The leadership team here, including myself, I'll tell you what we are. We are a group of people who are desperate. Desperate to reach more people than ever before for the name of Jesus. And we are desperate to hear the voice of God in our lives. And so here's what I want. If I'm going to be honest with you, here's what I want people who don't come to Southgate, here's what I want them to know about us. Not the statistics that are all out in the world, that the church in Canada. Here's what I want people to know outside of the church who look in at this congregation and this group of people. I would love people to know that when the name Southgate comes up, that we are a unified body that is pressing forward with the same goals. It doesn't matter where we meet. It doesn't matter how we meet. It doesn't matter how many services or what kind of building we meet in. It doesn't matter that we would be pushing towards the same thing, that we would be united with Jesus and united as a church. And because of that, no stat could be against us. That we would be a people who are known. Listen, we would be known for our generosity. That people would look at us and they would say, wow, I can't believe that the people, they're so unified. They're so heading in the same direction that they are willing to give up whatever. They are willing to put down resources. They are willing to put down time. They're willing to do whatever is necessary to push this mission forward, to unite more people with Jesus, to grow them, and to inspire others to do the same. And I hope, I dream that people from the outside, when they look in at the people who are Southgate Church, that they would see a legacy, a rich legacy from the past, a rich legacy being lived out right now, and a rich legacy left for our kids. That we would be a church known for unity, generosity, and legacy. Are you ready to continue to break through the statistics? God has great plans for your life. He has great plans for our church.